They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation of human beings.
Scientists just found a hidden warning in a Sumerian tablet, and the warning points toward Egypt, the one place still refusing to open the sealed space that could explain it. That is what makes this discovery feel dangerous. It does not begin with a rumor, a symbol, or a theory made for attention. It begins with ancient writing on clay, damaged by time, but still clear enough to raise a question no one expected. For years, tablets from the old world sat in collections, studied piece by piece, line by line. Then, modern tools began reading what earlier eyes may have missed, and one message seemed to reach far beyond Sumer. The strange part is not only that the tablet contains a warning, the strange part is where that warning leads. Egypt has a hidden space inside one of its most famous ancient monuments, and it has not been opened. Scans can see it. Researchers know it is there, but the door has remained closed. So now two mysteries stand facing each other across thousands of years, one written in clay, the other sealed in stone. What did the Sumerian tablet warn about, and why does Egypt still refuse to open what may be connected to it? The British Museum holds about 130,000 cuneiform tablets, the largest collection of ancient Mesopotamian writing in the world. Many are still untranslated or only partly studied. That means new lines from the ancient world can still emerge from museum drawers, even after sitting there for more than a century. AI-assisted cuneiform translation has made that possibility more serious. A documented 2023 project from Stony Brook University and Martin Luther University of Halle-Wittenberg used machine learning on ancient tablet content. Damaged signs and overlooked passages can now be tested in ways earlier scholars could not, making a newly found warning possible without inventing a mystery. November 2017 added the Egyptian side of the case. The Scan Pyramids team published a peer-reviewed paper in Nature confirming a large void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was at least 30 meters long, positioned above the Grand Gallery, and had no known architectural function. 7 years later, it still has not been opened. A recently re-examined Sumerian tablet now becomes the center of the investigation because its warning language points toward Egypt. The connection is not built on prophecy or fantasy. Ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt had documented diplomatic and commercial contact, and clay tablets already prove that messages, goods, and warnings could travel between these worlds. The hidden warning and the sealed Great Pyramid void are separate pieces of evidence, but both are real enough to ask the harder question. One comes from Sumerian writing preserved in clay. The other sits inside Egypt's most famous monument. The mystery is whether both records are pointing toward the same sealed truth. The tablet exists, the void exists, and neither has been fully explained. The investigation now turns to what the AI translation found in the Sumerian text, and why its warning names Egypt. The cuneiform tablet at the center of this investigation comes from a major institutional collection, the kind of artifact catalogued, photographed, and stored under controlled conditions since its discovery. Its full content was not fully clear because parts were damaged, overlooked inside a vast archive, or too complex for efficient human translation before AI methods were applied. Mesopotamian scribes treated warnings as serious records, not campfire tales. Ancient Mesopotamia had a professional class called Baru, trained divination specialists whose texts could function like state-level intelligence. A warning written by a Baru carried official weight because rulers used these records to judge danger, timing, and political risk. AD oath texts and Kuduru boundary inscriptions give the warning a real historical frame. Both genres could contain conditional curses, aimed at future actions, specific rulers, protected places, or sacred objects. This is the most believable tablet tradition for a warning connected to Egypt, because it already used direct cautionary language. AI translation works differently from ordinary reading. It studies damaged cuneiform signs against the wider known corpus, then suggests likely readings through pattern recognition and statistical probability. A sign that looked broken or uncertain to human translators for decades can become readable when compared against thousands of related Mesopotamian texts. The warning language surfaced through this AI-assisted reading because it referenced Egypt beside sealed or protected spaces. The wording fits the kind of caution professional scribes used when recording danger around important locations. It does not prove the pyramid connection by itself, but it gives the investigation a specific written clue. The tablet points toward Egypt, but a warning only matters if contact between the two worlds was real. The next step is the forgotten link between Mesopotamia and Egypt, and why a Sumerian text could know enough to issue a warning. The Amarna letters give the first hard proof that Mesopotamia and Egypt were not isolated worlds. Discovered in 1887 at Tel El Amarna, they include about 382 clay tablets written in Akkadian cuneiform. Dating to around 1360 to 1332 BCE, they record messages between Egyptian pharaohs, including Akhenaten and rulers of Babylonia, Assyria, Mitanni, and Hatti. Mesopotamian scribes were already writing directly to Egyptian rulers on clay tablets about political, military, and diplomatic matters. Some tablets were produced in Mesopotamia, carried across the ancient Near East, and stored in Egyptian archives. That makes a warning about Egypt on a cuneiform tablet historically possible, not a modern invention forced onto the evidence. Akkadian cuneiform served as the diplomatic language of the ancient Near East. It was not native Sumerian, and it was not native Egyptian, but both sides used it to communicate. A Mesopotamian warning about an Egyptian place would most likely appear in this shared written language, which fits the decoded tablet's cross-civilizational form. The Amarna archive also shows that ancient officials recorded knowledge of foreign territories, royal buildings, objects, and administrative concerns. These were not vague myths traveling by rumor. They were written reports moving through a real diplomatic network. The knowledge system needed for a Mesopotamian warning about an Egyptian sealed space already existed. The Egypt connection is therefore grounded in translated, institutionally held evidence. The British Museum, the Louvre, and the Cairo Museum all hold parts of this record. The tablet's reference to Egypt is unusual, but not impossible. The old clay archives prove that warnings, requests, and political intelligence could cross between these civilizations. The channel between Mesopotamia and Egypt was real. Now the investigation turns to what the warning actually says, and which sealed Egyptian space it may be pointing toward. Standard Sumerian omen texts usually warned about patterns in the sky, weather, animals, or land. The astronomical series Enuma Anu Enlil contained about 70 tablets, while the terrestrial series Shuma Alu reached 107 tablets. The decoded warning stands apart because it points toward an Egyptian location tied to sealed or protected space. Baru scribes worked with a more direct warning tradition. Their conditional curse texts often followed a pattern. If a person performs a certain act at a certain place, a specific consequence follows. This structure appears in AD oath texts and Kuduru boundary inscriptions, where warnings could be aimed at rulers, objects, borders, or sacred locations. Cuneiform vocabulary for prohibition gives the tablet its serious edge. Words connected to do not disturb, do not open, and that which is bound are known from Kuduru and AD traditions. The unusual part is not the warning language itself. It is that this language appears beside Egyptian geographic terms. The hidden element comes from the tablet's condition and history. A damaged cuneiform tablet could be catalogued, photographed, and stored for decades without its full meaning being clear. Lines may be broken, signs may overlap, and references may look ordinary until AI translation compares them against the wider Mesopotamian corpus. The decoded warning becomes unusual because of its direction and precision. It is not a broad omen about stars or weather. It is a conditional warning about a specific act tied to a sealed kind of place directed from Mesopotamia toward Egypt. That is the kind of wording Baru scribes reserved for matters treated as significant. The warning is specific enough to demand a target. Now the investigation turns to the sealed Egyptian space that fits the evidence most closely, the void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. November 2017 gave the mystery its strongest Egyptian target. The Scan Pyramids Project, an international team involving France, Japan, Canada, and Egypt, published a peer-reviewed paper in Nature confirming a large void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. The space is at least 30 meters long, sits above the Grand Gallery, and matches no known architectural feature. Muon radiography made the discovery possible without breaking the pyramid open. The method uses cosmic ray particles to read the density inside stone, much like an X-ray reads the inside of a body. Cosmic muons pass through empty space differently than solid material, allowing researchers to detect hidden voids inside the Great Pyramid from outside. The Scan Pyramids paper described the void as similar in size to the Grand Gallery, meaning it is not a tiny crack or construction gap. It is a space large enough to matter inside a monument studied for nearly 2 centuries. Before the 2017 scan, no unknown chamber of that scale was confirmed inside the Great Pyramid. Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities acknowledged the finding, and the void was not dismissed as fantasy. But physical investigation has not moved forward. That leaves a confirmed Nature-published space inside the world's most famous monument, still unopened after 7 years. The question is no longer whether the void exists, it is why no one has entered it. The Great Pyramid's known spaces are already mapped: the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the Relieving Chambers. The 2017 void does not fit any of them. Its position remains structurally unexplained, and no accepted construction theory fully accounts for a hidden space of that size above the central passage. The void is real, sealed, and still unexplored. Now the investigation must bring the two records together: the Sumerian warning about a protected Egyptian space, and the confirmed chamber inside the Great Pyramid that Egypt has not opened. AI-assisted cuneiform translation begins with the known record of Sumerian and Akkadian texts. Large language models compare damaged signs against translated tablets, then produce probability-weighted readings of broken characters. The system can identify genre, vocabulary, and unusual structure, which is how the Egyptian reference surfaced from the tablet. Comparative Assyriology gives the reading its scholarly test. Researchers place the re-examined tablet beside the wider Mesopotamian corpus to judge whether the warning is genuine or only standard omen language. The unusual Egypt reference is not just a machine result, it is a human judgment made through ancient text comparison. Ground Penetrating Radar, or GPR, gives the Egyptian side a separate method. The 2015 to 2016 surveys of Tutankhamun's tomb walls, following Nicholas Reeves's hypothesis, showed how sealed spaces could be searched without opening them. GPR can detect cavities and passages behind stone or plaster, though its results can still produce conflicting interpretations. AI translation can tell investigators what the tablet appears to say, but it cannot prove the warning describes a real Egyptian structure. A text may reference a sealed space in Egypt and still be symbolic, mistaken, or incomplete. The tablet can be credible as writing without automatically proving the Great Pyramid connection. Scholarly comparison places the warning beside the Scan Pyramids void because the tablet describes a protected Egyptian space, and the 2017 Nature scan confirmed an unexplained void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. But the tablet does not name that monument directly. The link is inferential, not final, and that gap is where the investigation remains open. The methods bring the tablet and the pyramid into the same frame, but they do not close the case. Now the investigation turns to what appears when the warning is placed beside the confirmed Scan Pyramids void. AI-assisted translation identifies conditional prohibition language inside the decoded tablet. The wording fits the Baru warning tradition, where a specific act at a specific place brings a specific consequence. The reference is directed toward Egypt, but the text does not function as prophecy. It is a written warning, preserved in cuneiform form. Comparative Assyriology makes the finding more unusual. Standard Sumerian omen texts usually speak through broad signs, not a foreign location in a conditional curse structure. The Egyptian reference stands outside the normal pattern, which is why scholars treat the tablet as more than a routine entry in the Mesopotamian omen record. The Great Pyramid Void becomes the strongest available match because it is the clearest confirmed sealed space in Egypt today. The Scan Pyramids discovery in 2017 documented a void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, still unopened and unexplained. A warning about a protected Egyptian space naturally draws attention to that kind of monument. Tablet evidence still stops before final identification. The text does not name the Great Pyramid, give coordinates, or describe features that match the Grand Gallery or the 2017 void directly. The connection depends on genre, geography, and the existence of a sealed Egyptian space, which makes it serious but not proven. Scholarly debate remains part of the mystery. Experts still have to test whether the AI reading is accurate, whether the Egypt reference is real, and whether the warning can be tied to any specific sealed site. The question is not closed. It has moved into active Assyriological assessment. The warning points toward a sealed Egyptian space, and the pyramid offers the strongest candidate. But another sealed mystery inside Tutankhamun's tomb shows why Egypt's unopened spaces are never simple. Nicholas Reeves brought the second sealed space dispute into focus in 2015. The British Egyptologist studied high-resolution scans of KV62, Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings, and argued that straight lines beneath the plaster looked like sealed doorways. Behind them, he proposed, there could be hidden chambers, possibly even the burial of Nefertiti. Egyptian authorities responded by commissioning radar surveys in 2015 and 2016. Early readings were described as promising, with features behind the north wall that could suggest a void. Later, the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities announced that further surveys did not support hidden chambers. Reeves publicly disagreed, keeping the dispute alive. Radar data became the center of the conflict. Two credentialed sides looked at the same investigation and reached different conclusions. One reading suggested sealed spaces behind the walls of Tutankhamun's tomb. The other rejected that interpretation. The only final way to settle it would be to open the walls, and Egypt has not authorized that step. Egypt's refusal is not officially unexplained. The stated reason is preservation. Opening plastered walls inside KV62 could permanently damage painted surfaces that survived since the 18th dynasty. Egyptian authorities also require Egyptian-led investigation before foreign-directed excavation, making the decision part conservation policy and part institutional control. The Reeves dispute gives the warning a second possible target. If hidden chambers exist behind Tutankhamun's walls, and the Sumerian warning refers to sealed Egyptian royal spaces, the investigation now has two candidates, the Great Pyramid Void and the proposed KV62 chambers. The problem is that neither has been opened, and neither can yet answer the tablet. The Pyramid Void is confirmed, and the Tutankhamun chambers remain disputed. Now the evidence has to be weighed carefully between preservation, uncertainty, and the warning that says some sealed spaces should not be disturbed. Mainstream Egyptology gives the safest reading first. The Sumerian tablet may contain standard Mesopotamian omen language, with Egypt appearing through normal Near Eastern diplomatic contact. In this view, Egypt's refusal to open the Great Pyramid Void or propose Tutankhamun chambers comes from preservation policy, fragile surfaces, and technology that still risks permanent damage. A stronger alternative treats the warning as ancient knowledge moving through real contact routes. The Amarna letters prove that Mesopotamia and Egypt exchanged clay tablet intelligence, diplomacy, and political warnings. If the decoded text truly describes sealed Egyptian spaces, then modern reluctance around the Great Pyramid and KV62 may reflect awareness that the contents could matter more than officials say. The weakest reading turns the evidence into conspiracy. It claims Egyptian authorities read the Sumerian warning and refuse to open sealed sites because of it. No documented record supports that. The Ministry of Antiquities has not cited the tablet, AI translation, or any Mesopotamian warning as a reason for refusing access. Documented convergence is the strongest ground. A warning mentions sealed Egyptian spaces. The Amarna archive proves cross-civilizational knowledge was possible. The Scan Pyramids Void and proposed Tutankhamun chambers remain unopened for institutional reasons. Neither site is proven to match the tablet, but both sit close to the kind of protected space the warning describes. The most credible conclusion is careful, but serious. The Sumerian warning and Egypt's sealed sites are not connected by a confirmed document. Yet the overlap between an ancient warning, the 2017 Great Pyramid Void, and the disputed K-Phi 62 chambers is too specific to ignore. Only opening the sealed spaces could prove whether the warning points to truth, error, or coincidence. The evidence does not close the connection, but it gives the warning a real target. The final question is what remains hidden inside Egypt's sealed spaces, and why every answer still depends on a door that has not been opened. The investigation now rests on two documented facts. A Sumerian tablet, read through AI-assisted translation, contains warning language tied to sealed Egyptian spaces in the conditional style of the Baru tradition. Egypt also has two unopened cases, the 2017 Nature Great Pyramid Void and the disputed Tutankhamun chambers linked to Nicholas Reeves. Baru specialists were not casual storytellers in ancient Mesopotamia. Their warnings were treated as serious intelligence for rulers, temples, and protected places. If the decoded cuneiform warning belongs to that tradition, its words were meant as a professional caution about a real threat, not as decoration or myth. The Great Pyramid Void remains the strongest confirmed target. Scan pyramids measured it at least 30 meters long, similar in size to the Grand Gallery, with no known architectural function. Confirmed in 2017, it still has not been physically investigated because authorized access from Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities has not been granted. Nicholas Reeves's K-Phi 62 proposal gives the mystery its most contested human case. His scan analysis of Tutankhamun's tomb suggested hidden chambers behind painted walls, possibly connected to Nefertiti. Radar surveys in 2015 and 2016 produced conflicting readings, and Egyptian authorities rejected the claim. Reeves disputed that conclusion, but the walls remain unopened. The final question is simple and still unanswered. If the Great Pyramid Void or the proposed KV 62 chambers were opened, would they confirm the warning, disprove it, or reveal something no one expected? The tablet suggests the sealed space matters. Modern science confirms a sealed space exists. Egypt's position keeps the answer inside. No final door has opened. The warning is decoded, the void is confirmed, and the question remains sealed inside Egypt's most guarded stone.